So this month, what we decided we would talk about are kind of some of the fundamentals of Reiki sessions, the how-tos of Reiki sessions. And many of you have been practicing for a long time and you're totally comfortable with all of this. And then there are other people who are either brand new or haven't, really had a lot of experience. And there's two things that I would say first about your Reiki sessions. Reiki is always doing the work. So none of it is about how you do certain things. And then the other thing that I'd like to say is there are a lot of right ways to give Reiki sessions. And so we've talked a lot in the last, I think in February, we talked a lot about the evolution of Reiki and the history of Reiki. And what we have seen in the evolution of Reiki is there is the energy of Reiki that we're all working with. Then the various lineages have different techniques they use to access the energy and deliver the energy to give a Reiki session. So there are a lot of techniques that we use in all different ways. So hand positions is a technique. Attunements are a technique to access the energy and work with the energy. So with sessions, Reiki sessions, you are using Reiki techniques, Reiki system techniques to access the energy and give the energy either to someone else or in a self session, to yourself or to animals or the trees, or, as we do even in these invocations and sending Reiki to the world. But what we thought we would talk about is some of the specifics of the fundamentals of a session, like if you're doing an in-person session. And again, what I want to clarify is we're just talking about techniques and a lot of the ways that we do things to have to give a Reiki session in person. And so your way may be different, and that is totally appropriate. There's lots of right ways to do things, and you do get to do them your way. So that has been an evolution in Reiki, the traditions of Reiki, even since the year 2000, where it used to be when I originally learned Reiki in 2000, the techniques that you used were very specific and strict. Like you have to use these techniques, you have to use it this way, and this is the right way, or you're not, or you're doing it the wrong way. So that was the messaging at the time. So then when the history of Reiki was discovered, that the evidence-based history of Reiki was discovered, and really finding out that since Usui Sensei developed his techniques for Reiki, and since that time and after him all the way to now, lots and lots of people have developed different techniques and ways that they practice Reiki. And what you really can see, it's not about are they right or are they wrong? It's do they work and what are the results? All comes back to the results, to me anyway. And what are those practical results that they bring? At the same time, it's useful to have specific ways to do things, and that you like to do them a particular way. I think the key for me is the flexibility that if something else intuitively occurs to me in a session, that I have the ability to utilize my intuition in the session, as well as the standard practices that I like to use. So for instance, we've talked about the hand positions and how Usui Sensei used an intuitive style of determining his hand positions, BOs and scanning. And he would scan till he found the Boson, and then that's where he'd place his hands. Mrs. Takata taught the standardized hand positions, and that's what I learned first, and they worked. So that's what I use. And I also use the Boson scanning and have the intuition. So that's just an example. And I know I've used that one a lot, but it kind of clarifies what I'm talking about. Hand positions are a technique. There's lots of right ways to utilize hand positions as a technique. So going into the topic of the sessions, what I would like to share with you is kind of the format and the structure that we use when doing in-person Reiki sessions. And then another week we'll do the format and the structure of other types of sessions as well. But today we were going to do in person. So the first thing that happens is, of course, that you have maybe established an appointment with a client, or maybe a time frame that you are going to work on a friend or a family member, or we're going to talk about animals another time. So otherwise I'll go off onto other rabbit holes. So I'm going to stick to this. So the first format is that you have established a time that you are going to give a person Reiki. If you are giving them Reiki in kind of a traditional way where they are laying on a massage table and you are going to give them Reiki, that's one style. Sometimes you are going to have Reiki sessions where the person is not on a massage table. They might be sitting in a chair, or maybe, I know I've given Reiki while people are in the hospital, and I need to then do the session completely differently, where my hand positions have to be adapted to where I am in that moment. But let's go back to a person being on the table. So the first thing is that they're going to come in, you're going to greet them. Depending on how you work your system, you may already have had a conversation with them about why they are there for the session. Or you are going to do that once they get into the room and you are getting ready to start the session. So the way that works for me, I think I'll just go through the outline, because otherwise, again, I can kind of spin off a lot. So when people come in, of course, the first thing that I do is I greet them. Some of them I'm going to have known for a long time. Others I don't know. I have been sending Reiki prior to the session in my mind as I'm doing everything else I'm doing. I typically have water already set in the room. The room is set up. My room is entirely unscented, by the way. Have to add that piece in. For me, I am so allergic to perfumes and scents that it has to be unscented if I were to go to a practitioner. So that's a caveat. So anyway, they come into the room and, I take their coat, let them get comfortable, etc. And then I usually have 2 chairs along with the massage table, and we sit down. But here's one of the things that I learned to do differently than I did originally, is I do a short invocation before I have the conversation with them. So I've introduced myself, I've said hello, and then I will say to them, what I'd really like to do first is an invocation. And so I'll do an invocation because it drops all of us into our heart. It activates Reiki. And now the conversation is coming from an entirely different place than someone driving to where they are, the busyness of what that takes, sitting down, trying to tell me what they have going on, me being able to hear what's going on. And so I just find that if I do even a 5-minute meditation, And, we have our invocation booklet on our website. That's a free download that you can use or use your own, or, if that you're not ready to kind of go that, or that isn't the style of your session, you could just have people, okay, place your hands on your heart and take some deep breaths. And, do the light is coming in from above, flowing through your head, going all the way down through the body. You could go step by step. But anyway, you could do something very simple. It does not have to be as elaborate, say, as what we do for invocations. And you do want it to match your style. So it's not at all saying it should match this style. It's your style, your way. So then one thing that happens in the next piece in the session is after they're kind of settled in, we've both taken some deep breaths. Reiki is now flowing through their voice. Reiki's flowing through my voice. I'm much more able to listen and to hear what's behind what's being said. And here's the thing with a Reiki session. Typically, two things are happening. Things are being released that people need to have healed. Things are letting go that no longer serve them. And then the energy you're bringing, that not you are, the energy is bringing in life force, vitality, empowerment, color, clarity, their heightened senses, heightened awareness that comes in for them as they're receiving it. So those two things are typically what the questions that I might have for my client are going to be about. And I might even be as direct as just saying, well, what would you like to let go of today? And then they'll, a lot of times they don't even know. And then other times it's very broad. And then other times it leads them into some specifics. I'm just listening. I have no opinions about it. I'm not trying to counsel or anything else. I'm just listening. Then I might ask them the question, what are you ready to bring in now? And then let them think about that. And sometimes they don't know. And that's the answer. Like, I don't know. That is an answer in itself. Or sometimes they have a broad answer, or sometimes they have a detailed answer. Again, my job is just to listen. What will happen is sometimes, because I'm listening so deeply, I can hear a question that isn't coming from what I want to know. It's actually the energy of Reiki is generating the question. And then other times, it really is as simple as, well, what would you like to let go of today? What do you want to bring in today? And writing down some notes as they're sharing. So then when they get on the table, then we begin the next portion of the session. Now, if they've been there before, I'll just give a quick, how's everything going with the hand positions today, giving them an opportunity to let me know if they have anything particular about how we do the session that they want to know. Or if they're brand new, I'm going to go over what to expect with them. So I go over what the hand positions are. I go over what bios and scanning is quickly. It's not, it's not anything really long, but I'll go over their body and say, here are the hand positions that I might use. I let them know that I always touch appropriately. Very important to reassure. And then I also let them know that my hands can actually be directly touching, or they can be above the body, and give them an opportunity to let me know their preference. Sometimes people are fine with, well, I I like physical touch, except for my feet, or something like that. So you want to give them that opportunity. And then you also want to let them know that please speak up if there's anything you need differently. Same thing with music, because I'll have music playing. We all have different tastes in music. So I give them an opportunity to talk about the volume and the music itself. How is this music for you? To make sure, because I don't know about you, but I've been in things like that where the music is just like, stop, so really can't relax when the music is not, comfortable for you. So then going through the session, now some of you that are working with like some of the holy fire experiences. So sometimes some of the things that you could do is like do the hand positions and do one of the experiences. So like the ocean of holy love, for instance, you could be starting at the head and doing the hand positions, or if you start at the belly or start at the feet, that's appropriate. But I'm just talking about, if you're starting at the head and let's say you want to guide them on the ocean of holy love, and you just guide them through the forest to the ocean. And then in that time that would be silence, just go ahead and do your Reiki session. Or you may do it completely silently. One thing I do hope for with my clients is that we don't chat, but some clients really prefer that. If I get one that is pretty chatty, because I think it's really beneficial for them to go into that deep relaxation, then a lot of times what I'll do is just say, let's go ahead and stay in silence. So rather than stop talking, and say, let's just stay in silence for this time. And then if they keep going back to it, I'll remind them, like, take some deep breaths and let's spend some time in silence and help them go into some breaths. And then I do have some clients that they just plain, that for them, the session, there is some talking in it because they're sorting themselves out through that. When I've completed the session, and everything is complete, I'll go back over, do some more BOs and scanning, just make sure that I've covered everywhere that I want to cover. And then I will do what I call seal the session. Oh, thank you, Kim. Yeah. Oh, great. I'll look at the chat in a minute and answer any questions, or Robyn, you can. So when I'm sealing the session, there's a lot of different ways to do this too, but I'll typically use any of the Reiki symbols that I feel guided to seal the session. A lot of times I use Rama, which is a Karuna symbol. Other times I use the Holy Fire Master symbol, or even the Usui power symbol. But then other times it can come in completely differently as a different symbol. And so for me, sometimes I am like, okay, I always do it this way. And other times a way to do it differently will show up, and I'll do it that way. And then I seal this session with love and light, and I like to kind of do what's called brush the aura over the body. I'm not touching the body, just over the body. And when I say that I seal this session with love and light, what that does, and I'll often say it 3 times, is signals the client that the session is coming to an end. So it starts to bring their awareness to, oh, session is ending now. Then I'll go up to their shoulder. I take a minute. Everything's very slow. I try to be very predictable in my movements. So I'll go up to their shoulders and just say, go ahead and take as long as you need. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and come back. and then give them the time to, um, give them the time to come back. And then from that point to when they are ready to leave the session, typically we have a conversation about their experience. Some of you receive impressions during the sessions and others don't. And one of the number one questions that I get from my students is, how do I know what to share about the impressions I receive in a session and what not to share? Err on the side of caution and use discernment about what you share, and always know that you are never required to share information or insights that you receive in a session if you decide you don't want to do it. I have a particular process that I think of with Reiki is never scare the client. So if I'm going to share something that I'm like, oh boy, I don't know about this, or I don't know my accuracy, or it's outside of my scope of practice, such as medical information or counseling types of information, then I just know that Reiki will take care of it for that person. That's outside of my responsibility as a practitioner. Other times, the insights come in that are really beneficial, comfortable to share, appropriate to share, and I know that I am within the scope of my practice and skill set and accuracy. And if I'm unsure of it, I ask Reiki to help me with that, particularly in the mental emotional symbol, the Usui mental emotional symbol, SHK, and the Karuna symbol, NOSA. We can say Karuna symbols out loud. So the Karuna symbol, NOSA, also is really beneficial for that. So then you take the time to make sure your client is capable of driving. And that's why I have the water there. Sometimes it's even beneficial if you feel like it would be important to have some type of snacks for them, that they can either eat while you're processing at the end, or even take with them in the car. But you want to make sure they're ready to drive. One question I get is, how long are the sessions? And that really varies, and how you do the session may make a difference in how long it is and how long you are in each hand position, for instance. Sometimes the session and my hand positions are dictated by the length of time I have. And it's often one of the things I know when I was beginning is that I kind of assumed that it would be okay with clients if the session took longer than what we scheduled. And then I discovered that actually a lot of them had plans and they were planning on the schedule, the session being, an accurate time frame. I know for myself that in an in-person session, I really need at least an hour and a half. And then I give myself a half an hour between one client to the next to make sure I have time to clean, wash my hands, change sheets if I need to do that, to give myself time to be fully present for the next client. Some people have shorter time frames in between, and that's appropriate too. So in other words, if you have clients back to back, that's totally appropriate if that's the way your practice works. Some people have sessions that are every hour on the hour. Some people have sessions that are 3 hours long. You get to determine that. and how yours are going to work. And it can vary. Once you have more of a professional practice, then of course your scheduling gets to be a little bit more, structured. Like it's easier if you have a Reiki, like a professional Reiki business where you are seeing clients regularly, if you are very clear about your scheduling. That will benefit you and it will benefit your clients also.